What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a special episode of Keeping It EPL. It's in the game.
Can we
Matthew
say it's
Selz.
a special episode when they're going to be more frequent because this is the midweek part of the season?
Yes, we have come to the part of the season where it goes fast, where we have midweek games, weekend games. So we're going to do two shorter episodes this week to cover it all. One for the weekend and then one for this week as we go forward. There's games that are going to be happening by the time this is live. And if we miss the prediction, I'm sorry, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. So there you go. If you listen to this and say, well, they already lost, you picked this. Well, screw you. We're doing the best we can here on Keeping It EPL. But first, before we get to that, Matt, we have to talk about this last weekend because
it was bonkers.
Bonkers! Off the wall. Straight up off.
So much stuff to talk. Where do you want to start?
Well, let's start on Friday.
Good point.
Where Brighton surprised us all. We're at home at Amex, where they're so good, and they have been so good all season. The lowliness of teams, Southampton, which we agree they should be better than they are, but just haven't got the results in the way and in their way. But at the end of the day, you have to think it's the points that matter, not how good your team is, not how many passes you complete, not how much possession you have. Whoever scores the more goals, they're going to win. And that hasn't been happening to Southampton. But Brighton ties. Huge 1-1 draw at home against Southampton. A surprise for us. I know we picked Brighton. We thought it would be a big Brighton win. But Southampton showing a little bit of life to maybe climb out of the cellar, or do you think they're done? They're relegated.
I don't know. I think, and we can talk about this as the show goes on when we talk about the table stuff. I think there are clear tiers beginning to form. Obviously, Liverpool is way out in front. We'll get to them.
Yeah.
But I think there's like a battle of 5 teams for relegation now. Like, yes. I think we know the pool for relegation. I think West Ham will be okay.
Yes.
Because they do get Musa back, right? In a couple more games. I think they'll be okay. So you got that. Then you got like the bottom half of the mid-table, like 10 through 15 are all kind of compacted that are kind of battling their way out.
I think Everton is kind of teeter-tottering over that, especially with
what
could be a points deduction. So they're kind of in that middle realm here. Now they are 2 points away from relegation, but more on them in a little bit. But yeah. So
it was big for Southampton to get a point because it did force.
But they're still 4 points out of relegation, and
they now still need a lot of stuff to go their way.
And they somehow finally have the worst point or the score
goal differential
in the league. Yeah, like, and we thought it was going to be Wolves
scoring and stopped allowing goals. So
yeah, that's a whole nother thing and for a different day. But so I'm looking at this and going, I think Southampton at this point, a lot to climb.
Every point is important for them.
Correct. And so one is good, but they have to start winning games.
Well, let's just put it this way. The rest of the season, there's going to be a lot of 6-pointers in the bottom 5 spots of that table.
Yeah, because Southampton has to play Wolves. They have to play Ipswich. They have to play Crystal Palace. They have to play Leicester. They have to play Everton. And all these will determine how it shakes out. So
and who knows? Maybe West Ham doesn't figure it out and they stay down there and those become 6-pointers, but I don't think that that's the case.
Well, let's talk about West Ham because they hosted Arsenal in the Battle of London.
That was a bizarre game.
At first, I was texting you and I was like, well, I'm turning it off. I'm going to go watch something else. It's time for college football. Yep. And all of a sudden, it was 3-1, and then it was like 4-2.
Yeah, it was 4-0, and then 4-2, and then 5-2, all in the first half.
And then the second half was just a waste. But I mean, West Ham
dudes running around on a grass field.
Yeah, West Ham put on a show, I guess, in that final 10 minutes or whatever of the first half. But ultimately, it was Arsenal's to win. Arsenal, again, I think more on this in a little bit, but I think that they are with one other team who I think is better than Arsenal. And I'm going to talk about this in a little bit. But I think Arsenal can challenge Liverpool still. I don't think Liverpool has won because Liverpool happens to be the team that has led during Christmas, the last
Correct.
couple of years and blown it every
Let's
time. Now
not
they haven't
forget
had
what
some
happened
sleep.
last year. They were right there, and then all of a sudden they just
Yeah, on January
April
1st,
April
everyone
showed up.
on January 1st, people were talking about the quadruple for Liverpool last year. Let's not forget.
Correct.
So let's lay that to rest. Bournemouth, big win over Wolves, 4-2. That was actually a fun game to watch, not going to lie. Bournemouth is one of those weird teams where on any given day, they could absolutely just knock you out.
Well, okay, but it was also history making
Mhm.
too, because nobody in the history of the Premier League, which granted goes back to the early 90s, but you do have to go back to the late 50s in terms of top flight English football to get the feat that happened to for Bournemouth to have happened the last time, right? A hat trick on penalties.
Yep. I was going to mention that. I'm glad you brought that up. It's the first time it's ever happened. A hat trick on penalties. That means 3
And the
penalties
guy who
scored.
made the 3 penalties didn't even earn, I don't think, any of the 3 penalties.
I think it was
He earned 1.
Justin Clovert was the one who
Yeah.
did it. Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, he was.
He took the PKs, but I think he only earned 1. And by the
Yeah.
way, what's up with the penalties on goalies this week?
Yeah, there's a lot.
There was a lot. Like
Yeah, there's a
2
lot.
of them, at least 2 of them were on the goalie
Yeah.
in that one. We'll get to a rare play that happened in another game.
I think there were backup goalies too, I believe.
Yeah, there's also another PK on a goalie in another game.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, did we all just decide this was the week where goalies had no right to the ball?
Well, one of them that you're talking about was a clear penalty because he missed the ball and literally took
Well,
out the legs of the player. Like you
okay.
can't do that.
1 out of the 4 that I mentioned.
That was clear. But yeah, Bournemouth, big win. Wolves, they are who we thought they were. In typical Nottingham Forest fashion, a 1-0 win at home. Let's just move on from that.
On a penalty.
On a penalty. Yeah,
On a penalty on the yeah.
So hey, our boy, we called it too. Chris Wood got his goal though.
He did get his goal. There were chances for some others that just didn't quite fall.
Mm-hmm.
But gotta hand it to Ipswich, man. They looked pretty good.
They're a little feisty team. I know they're at the bottom
They
of
are
the table,
feisty.
but they're not getting blown out. They're not
No.
getting blown out this season, and they're staying in games. They've had some good draws against good teams, and they're not scoring a lot of goals, but they're keeping themselves in it from one just counterattack away. And shout out to them. I mean, from all the teams in the bottom right now, they are the most impressive.
Selz had to make a couple of really good saves down the stretch.
Matt Selz had to
Yes.
make a he
My
did.
daughter points out every time the guy makes a save, Daddy, you made the save. It's like, well, not quite, but thanks.
A bad draw for Newcastle, Crystal
Correct.
Palace, at Selhurst Park. Newcastle, man, and then it's not getting any easy for them on Wednesday. More on that later. But Newcastle's in trouble. We talked about it last week a little bit too. But
Yeah, an own goal in that one too.
it was. We talked about it last week. Newcastle could be in trouble. They aren't who we thought they were. They had one good year of exciting football last year. They're back to their normal ways. My Brentford Bees buzzing around Leicester City at home at G-Tech, baby. 4-1, big win there.
Although it was an interim manager because Cooper was sacked, and
yeah, but we expected Brentford to win.
Yeah,
Like
and
we actually said they win by 2 or more goals, and they won 4-1.
yes.
So we did well there. Let's just go to Man United just absolutely shellacking Everton at home. That's the Everton we thought, and that's the Man United at home that should be, to be real. They've been terrible at home all year.
Everton scored the entire month of November.
Yeah, but they've had a couple 0-0 draws, and
I know, but they haven't scored the entire month of November.
They're not a good team. There's no reason they deserve a stadium like they're being built, but here we are.
Actually, it's really quite hilarious that they're building a stadium on a pier when they're a sinking ship. I find that quite apropos.
And we'll see if they even play that in the Premier League, in the stadium next year.
That's going to be just an amazing Championship League stadium.
It would be that. I think I actually looked it up. They would be the third highest in all of champions, or in the championship. They'd be the third highest. So there's still two that have more, but those are teams that used to be legendary Premier League teams that haven't quite gotten back. So
yeah,
makes a lot of sense.
Everton's last goal came October 26th.
Wow. They haven't scored a goal since October. Wait, Everton has not scored a goal since October.
They drew 1-1 with Fulham on October 26th. On the 2nd
And they
of
haven't
November,
scored a goal since.
On the 2nd of November, they lost 1-0 to Southampton. And
It
they
is
drew 0-0 in 2 straight games on the 9th of November to West Ham and Brentford on the 23rd.
and then we had the break. We had the international break.
We had the international break. They drew 0-0 with Brentford on the 23rd, and then they got shellacked 4-0.
Wow.
For the second time this year.
Well, things are not going to get easier for them this weekend, too.
On December 1st. So technically, they still haven't scored in December either. They're going 2 months without scoring.
Yeah, well, they will play the Wolves. So luckily they happen to play the Wolves on Wednesday. That may help. We'll talk about Spurs Fulham here. Actually, no, let's say that. Let's just say Chelsea 3-0 over Aston Villa. We were high on Aston Villa last week. We talked about how their struggles. I do want to say I think Chelsea is just as in the same talk, and odds are not in their favor. So if you want to sprinkle a little money on this right now, you can get plus 1,000 on this.
I think they're a dark horse.
Chelsea, I think right now are a better team than Arsenal. They're playing better. They're playing more free. Their defense is better. And these high signing players that haven't meshed in the past, the last couple of years, are starting to mesh. And everything's just coming around. And they've been great lately. And if anyone's going to challenge Liverpool, I know Arteta came out for Arsenal and said a quote that he's just waiting for Liverpool to falter like they do every year, which was, I don't think he should be out there saying that right now. That's not smart of him to say that, Arteta, because you don't want to piss them off. But he said it. He said it in the open. He's just going to sit there and wait for Liverpool to fail. That's pretty much what he said. But you have to worry about Chelsea, Arsenal, because they are right there with you, and they're better. I'm going to be honest. They have better players, younger players, hungrier players. Nicholas Jackson's a better striker than what you have on your team right now. You have Saka, but he's not really a true striker.
I will say that Arsenal has gotten markedly better with Odegaard's return.
Yeah,
they went from scoring just over a goal a game to averaging 2.33 goals a game.
Correct. It's the Rodri effect.
Before the 5 they put
Arsenal.
But in terms of defense, Chelsea and Arsenal, we always talk Arsenal's vaunted defense, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And Chelsea was supposed to be this freewheeling, non-defensive team, right? They've allowed the same amount of goals.
Correct.
And they've both allowed more than, surprisingly, Nottingham Forest. And Man U, by the way. Props to Man U. At least they're not scoring or allowing goals. So not a whole lot of
Well, they're scoring now. They scored 4 on Everton.
They did. One game. Well, and it's Everton, who Tottenham also beat 4-0.
True.
The Tottenham team that managed to pull off their second draw.
The roller coaster that is Tottenham. We'll beat Man City. We'll annihilate them, and then we'll draw to Fulham, which is what I want to talk about next.
Although that equalizer from Fulham was phenomenal. It
was phenomenal, but Spurs 1-1.
Yes.
Where were the goals at home against Fulham? Where were they at?
They had chances. They just didn't put them in again.
It's a roller coaster ride with Spurs, which means whoever they play during this midweek, over 2 goals.
Probably. Trying to remember the pattern now because it's been since match week 1 since they drew.
Yeah, it's win. It was win by big, lose, win big, lose, win big, draw. That's the pattern.
Well, I know, but they drew week 1 and then hadn't drawn since.
Correct, but they've been winning big games and then losing the next week.
So what they do in week 2? That's what we got to go find out. They go lose to Newcastle. Is that what happened?
It's a pattern, and it's a clear one.
Yeah, I mean, Fraser Forster looked okay, but man, you can't just like punch the ball all the time. You gotta hold it. But
yeah, that's an issue.
That was a reasonably solid Tottenham showing. I'll take that at this point. Points are good.
Yeah, points are good. That's all that matters at the end of the day.
That's all I can say. Points
Are
are
the
good.
points. All that matters are the points. And Liverpool got all of them when they made Man City look like little children on Sunday. And I'm not even the announcers, and I quote the announcers in this one. It looks like professionals playing a little kids league, like a little kids team. They said that during the broadcast.
Yeah, Man City looks done.
They
look done.
And the Liverpool fans had a nice little tune for Pep saying you're going to get sacked in the morning. But you know what? All he had to do was look at them and do this.
Yeah, he put up 6, which
the 6 Premier League championships that he's
it also
he's right to do stuff.
Well, okay. Is it the championships or is it the number of consecutive losses now?
It's also both. Yeah. But no, it wasn't consecutive losses, just non-wins because they did tie.
Well, that's true. They did give up a 3-0 lead in Champions League.
With 10 minutes left in the game, yes.
Not great. And then De Bruyne
to Arne Slot's old team.
De Bruyne tries to nutmeg Comey Kelleher, and that doesn't even work.
Yeah, and we talked about this last week with Man City, and so I don't want to beat it to death, but that midfield, they're old,
it's atrocious.
They're slow. Kyle Walker is not the same Kyle Walker. He is.
Yeah, he's lost a step.
And it's just defensively, they were just letting, like they did to Tottenham, just letting the midfield of Liverpool just run ahead of them. So you pretty much have your back four in between the midfield of Liverpool and their front three.
Yep.
It was for the first half of that game, it was 7-on-4.
Correct.
For 30
it looked like they were
minutes.
playing foosball without their last their last.
Yeah, it was insane. And then Szoboszlai was just controlling the whole game. Like correct. it was absolutely insane to watch. And by the way, 2-0, that game should have been 5-0. Like Mo Salah missed some open chances. Virgil van Dijk missed 2 chances, one of them off the post.
Yeah,
with headers from quarters. I mean, Trent Alexander-Arnold almost had a beautiful shot that just went like inches left. Like it was yeah.
And the drama started before the game when Ederson wasn't announced in goal for Man City.
Correct. And the announcers even said on the game that it was that Pep said rest, but they said no, that was clearly benching because he has not been good.
Yeah, something happened there. Pep is trying to push every button he can, but he just looks.
And then during the middle of the game, he brings in those 2 young wingers, and now they actually have space on the edges and actually have room to roam against Liverpool without, missing 2 key defenders. And it started to work. And then right when De Bruyne came in, the whole game plan changed, and it just didn't it was I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse over this because we talked about this for 3-4 weeks now, but Man City is they're not going to win the Premier League. They're in trouble in the Champions League. So maybe they'll win the Carabao Cup. Wait, they're already out of that.
They're out of that.
So, I mean,
the FA, they're technically not out of that yet.
The FA Cup, congratulations. But is that what they want when they're wearing that gold seal on their chest that says they're champions of the world right now? Probably not.
No.
So, and we talked, and I will
wait till they get to show up in the U.S. to play the FIFA Club World Cup.
Yeah.
Next year.
They won't be in the FIFA World Cup because in order to do that, you must win the Champions League.
I mean, that's true.
And the reason they had that is because they did win it last year.
Well, they'll still be in it because they won the Premier League.
Okay, they'll still lose. Doesn't matter. They're not going to win anything. They're done. And here's the thing. We talked a couple weeks ago about how we thought Pep would be, maybe he was like retire, like do a Jurgen Klopp, right?
He signed an extension.
But he just last week signed an extension. Was it last week? Signed an extension?
2 weeks ago, maybe? I don't know. I think he did it out of spite.
This is okay. If this is the NFL, and you're going through a losing streak like that, you're fired. Look at Eberflus. But
Yeah,
in the
imagine
Premier
imagine the Bears losing 6 straight games in 6 different ways, including
you're having your all-time worst streak of losing and in your history of coaching, and you get extended. But you know what? Maybe that was the club trying to say, "Hey, we have faith in you. You know, you'll turn around to try to boost him."
But here's the thing: where do they go? Because they can't I'm not sure they can spend that much in the January window because they got the 115, 130 charges, whatever it is, hanging over them that they're supposed to find out about early next year, according to reports.
I'm sure the president will pardon him.
And I mean, they have a prime minister over there, but sure.
Whatever. I mean, the president of Premier League, whatever.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe we'll see. But like where they look old, so
they are old.
I mean, they are. Yes.
What we're looking at here is a team who's had a great run.
An entire new midfield in January, and then come in and understand the system that Pep plays immediately, and then hope Arsenal, Chelsea, and Liverpool all fall apart.
Liverpool's not falling apart. No. Chelsea's going to only get better, and Arsenal is right where they are, right? So, right. And you got a new coach with Man U that's kind of scary. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, Amarim's going to get that thing turned around pretty quick.
Yeah. So,
and they have money they can spend.
You know what? You know what we're looking at here. I really feel like this is the end of like the Patriots. Like
where is Man City finishing in the table?
I think.
Are they finishing in Europe?
Yeah, I think they'll get maybe that 5th or 6th spot. I mean, they have too much talent to not lose to Ipswich or Wolves or Bournemouth, or like they'll win those games.
Haaland has 12 goals, but when's the last time he actually scored?
By the way, Liverpool made him look absolutely stupid and completely.
Watching the Tottenham game, they said.
Well, they did too. Tottenham made him look stupid too, and we've been saying this for weeks. That dude is a one-trick pony. He's a one-trick pony.
They said that on the broadcast. They were like, you know what he's going to do. Stopping him is a different story. But when you can't get him the ball.
Well, to be fair, he was against Virgil van Dijk, who literally smothered him. And he could.
Okay, but against Tottenham, he was against Dragushin and Davies.
Oh, was it Pedro on him?
Not really, because those are the two center backs. I mean,
I know.
I don't know. And then you got Ricardo Lewis, who's trying to figure out where he plays. And I heard this stat. I was listening to the Guardians football podcast this morning, and they were like, Man City passed it more than 450 times. Ricardo Lewis was responsible for 6 of those.
Jesus.
So, like...
Talented. He's talented.
Okay, but he's not touching the ball. So...
okay.
And now they get Forrest.
They do. So, okay, you got Bernardo Silva, who is past his prime.
Well, he's not past his prime at whining at the refs.
Yeah, all that. Gundogan, who's, come on, past his prime. And that's who they started in midfield. And then Rico Lewis, like you said, right? But, and he was subbed out after 78 minutes. You have Haaland, all right. And then this back four of Kyle Walker, who's clearly... doesn't have the step he used to. I've never been a fan of Ake at all I just even playing for the Netherlands, and I don't think Arne Slot even likes him. Like he's just kind of slow. But he's a good attacker and a good passer, but never been good. Ruben Diaz, who's been absolutely horrendous this year playing defense, and Phil Foden has been a shell of himself.
Correct.
And that's who you put out there. And that's who you put out there, with Jack Grealish and Kevin De Bruyne on the bench. And here's the rest of this team now. Obviously, you have, take the goalie away. Nico O'Reilly.
At one point, I think in the early second half, the announcer said that there was 0 other players on Man City on the field that had scored aside from Erling Haaland.
Yeah, it's true. Nico O'Reilly, James McAtee. Who? They're England under 20 players. And then you got Jeremy Doku, who I will admit when he came on, had some actual
Yes.
things going for him,
He
and then
made a great little spin move on the sideline to keep the in the
yeah,
corner to keep the ball and get across in the box.
and Savinho. That is it.
Yep.
That is the team. I think you're right. I don't know if I think we're looking at the end of an era.
Are
Now I
they?
could
I'm
be
not convinced that they finish in Europe.
I I think you're right, and I think we're looking at the end of an era because they just don't have it, and they still have a lot of high paying contracts to a lot of these players.
Because here's the thing. I don't think Newcastle is as bad as they've been.
Mm,
Maybe, but they can move up. Is Brentford as good as they are? I don't know.
I think they are.
Probably not. Man U's coming. They've already moved up to ninth.
I mean, I don't think Brentford's ever going to challenge for a top four spot. I'm
Correct.
not saying that, but I think Brentford since coming up will be a Premier League staple for a long time.
Correct.
They have the capital, they have the fan base, they have the players that are young, that are good. Carvalho, he's young. When he starts starting, normally he's gonna be one of the best strikers we have in the Premier League. Brentford's going to be good for a while.
Is Villa as bad as they are?
I think so. I think last year was a fluke. I think I mean they have really good players, but I mean, why wouldn't Ollie Watkins want to go play for a team like Liverpool next year if Mo Salah leaves? Or why wouldn't he want to go play? Who will pay him the money to go there? I
Well,
think
let's put it this way. By the end of or by the start of this weekend's games, Man City could be outside of the Europe spots.
yeah. I mean they have to play Nottingham Forest though.
Yeah,
You want to jump into the games? Well, we went
Nottingham
long.
Forest went to Anfield and beat Liverpool.
Okay, it's the only loss they have this season. Okay, I get it.
Well, didn't
Gonna keep
Liverpool
on rubbing
lose
that
in
in
the
my
Champions
face.
League?
No, they're undefeated and on top of the Champions League table.
Okay, well,
Liverpool's only lost one
and that
game.
was
It
when
was
Liverpool
one
was
0
flying high. Forest shows up and
to
beats them.
Nottingham Forest off a counterattack play. We got it. Okay.
But if Forest does what they
This guy over here, jeez,
if
riding
Forest
riding
shows
his high
up
horse.
if Forest shows up and plays defense the way they can, because let's face it, Man City's not scoring right now,
hmm
and they get the win, and Tottenham wins,
hmm
Man City is behind Tottenham and Forest, and they would be in seventh.
Yeah, I mean,
They'd be
and
Forest would be 2 points clear of Man City 14 games into the season, and Tottenham is up and down and
well,
roller
they're
coaster.
gonna. We're betting on Tottenham to win this week because
I would. You can do that. I am.
no, I'm
Just,
just that's the trend. They're gonna win by 2 or more goals this week.
I'm just
That's what
watching those
Tottenham does.
games the rest of the season. That's all I'm doing. But then Tottenham would be tied on points because if they win, they'd be to 23. Man City loses, they'd be at 23. And Tottenham
Brentford can overtake Man City on goals
correct.
by the weekend.
If Brentford wins,
Yeah, more on this in a little
they
bit.
would be ahead of Man City. Man City could possibly be in eighth because Man U can't catch them.
They
Man
can't.
U would still be a point behind even if Man U
Yeah.
wins. And then, by the way, Man U's got to play Forest on this weekend.
Yes, which would be an interesting game.
I think Forest is just camping in Manchester for the week. I think that's what's because they're both in Manchester.
Why not? Why not? That's good.
At
That's
the
a fun
Etihad
place.
and Old Trafford.
All right, well, let's just run over the games real quick again. We just went over all the news and what we thought. So if some of these games have already happened when you're listening, I'm sorry, but this is just the way the Premier League is.
Yes.
We have Ipswich hosting Crystal Palace. We're not going to give any bets. We're just going to say here, I think if I would just think that Ipswich could win this game at home.
I do. I think that's look. Crystal Palace has lucked into some results over the last few weeks.
By the way, these two teams have not played in the Premier League since 1995.
Excellent.
Yeah.
But I feel like Crystal Palace is not great on the road, if memory serves. Pulling up the form for Crystal Palace as we speak, but like they're not even good at home, so I'm not sure why.
Yeah,
They're
no,
gonna be great away. Crystal Palace is 18th. If you only counted road games, Crystal Palace would be 18th on the table.
if
Away, and Ipswich, ironically, is 18th on the table if you only count home games.
huh. I still think the way that Ipswich plays and the way Crystal Palace is played, I do liken them in this one
I
at
do
home.
too. I think Ipswich is
I
gonna
also
be
expect
better
this one to be a 1-0 victory, and I would bet the under a goals 2.5 on this one. If I was a betting man, which I am, but yeah.
Yeah.
Leicester with the new coach Ruud van Nistelrooy will make his debut at home against a West Ham team who was flying high after beating Newcastle and then flying low after getting walloped
Just
by
absolutely waxed.
Arsenal. Do you think that West Ham wins this game?
I don't know. I have no read on this game.
My read is a
I
draw. This would be my draw pick if I
Right.
had to choose
That's
one.
what, because you've got a new system coming in with Ruud van Nistelrooy. He's already said he's gonna make changes before he shows up there.
He already
Uh,
has apparently, and all the players are already as well quoted here, um, as are all in on Ruud van Nistelrooy. So.
yeah, so but again, it's not like, it's gonna be like Man U was last week where Amarim got 3 training sessions with Man U, and so, like, there was some flashes, but they weren't all there. I think we see that, and West Ham's gonna be looking to take it out on somebody after getting absolutely waxed in front of the bubbles, at, London's.
Did they even have a chance to blow the bubbles?
They did on kickoff.
Yeah, okay. That's
They're
just
going on kickoff. That's about the only time I saw the bubbles.
all right.
So I don't know. I would say draw. I would say maybe like a 1-1 draw, maybe 2-2.
Yeah, it's gonna be a low scoring game as well there as well, I think. So moving on here, we're going to Everton hosting Wolves. Everton has not scored a goal since October. We just discussed this.
Mhm.
Wolves have been scoring goals lately, but they also give up a ton.
They do.
They what do you? I mean, I don't have a pick
I
here.
really kind of want Wolves, to be honest.
By the way, this is a big game for the relegation battle.
Yes, it is.
If the Wolves do win this, then Everton's going to be really hurting. I think Wolves win this game though. I think Everton just has no scoring prowess, and the Wolves have been scoring goals. They've scored multiple goals and a lot of in like almost like what 4 of the 5 last games they played.
Yeah,
Everton have scored 0.
Wolves would jump Everton in the table if they
Correct.
beat.
hmm So just looking at the stats here, looking at everything, Wolves
And
will
then,
give
by
up
the way,
goals.
the Crystal Palace, if they don't get a result, they would
Let's
drop.
see. Last year, the Wolves okay. Last year, Everton did not score a single goal against the Wolves, and the Wolves won 3-0 and 1-0. So, yeah, let's go, Wolves.
It's so bad. Everton doesn't score against anybody, man. They
Oh, my
don't,
God. How are they still in the Premier League and one of the oldest teams? I don't know. It's crazy. They just somehow weasel their way
because here's what
out of it.
happened. They're going to get a point deduction, and for like 6 weeks, they're going to use the rage of the corruption chant to just look like they are a top of the table side and then just be fine. And then for the last 10 weeks, they're just going to hang in there, grit their teeth, pull out a bunch of scoreless draws, and survive again.
Oh, boy. I can't wait for that.
I mean, that's what they did last year, so why wouldn't they do it again?
And the year before that, and the year before that.
Correct. They haven't scored in like 4 years.
All right. Well, when that ship sinks, that new stadium.
And their new stadium on the pier.
Yeah. Manchester City hosting your Nottingham Forest.
This is
Oh,
either the absolute best time in the world to play Man City, or it's the absolute worst time in the world to play Man City, and there's
correct.
nothing in between. Either they are going to kick it into gear, and those scratch marks on Pep's forehead are going to give him some new formations to try. He's going to go into the darkness and come back out. And
Again, though, Nottingham Forest is not an easy team to
I know,
beat.
because if the defense, because here's the other thing that Man City's going to have a problem with. The center backs for Nottingham Forest, Milankovic and Murillo,
Yeah.
are fairly physical big dudes. Milinkovic
which
can
is the
match
same
up with
thing that
Haaland.
Liverpool has. So I don't think he's going to run out the same lineup. I think he's going to play probably he has to start Doku. He has to.
I
You
mean, you
have
have
to.
to, right? But
Yeah.
at the same time,
Go wide and bring it in. Like you can't. You can't
Aina
put the
and Nico
same 11
Williams,
out there.
Aina and Nico Williams are both capable of locking down
Yeah. Shout out to Nico Williams,
Doku,
ex-Liverpool player.
right? Then you've got Milinkovic and Murillo, center backs, who can just post up on Haaland waiting for a cross that's never going to come. And then Savinho, the 20-year-old, gets to match up against Alex Moreno, who at times this year has looked like, why the heck was he allowed to go to Nottingham Forest?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Defensively, they could just pull off the thing they did at Liverpool and just pack it and go, okay, Man City, you can't score. Go try to beat us. And then counter.
If Man City wins, it's not going to be by a lot.
No, it'll be like 1-0. And you know what? I'll be like, okay, still Man City, still the Etihad. Like Forest is still right there with
and this is the start of a run for Man City where they must win. Like they have a nice little run here where they're not playing any top 4 teams that they just have to take advantage of it if they want any chance of even making Europe.
Although, is there a chance that Forest could be a top 4 team by the end of the weekend if they?
Yes, there is. There's always a chance as long as the points are involved and the game hasn't been played yet.
Points, so if they win, they get to 25, which would tie them with Chelsea's in 3rd at 25, Brighton's in 4th at 23. So there's a chance.
Okay.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There's a chance. Well, let's talk about a game that scares me. Newcastle hosting Liverpool.
This feels like a trap game for Liverpool.
It feels like 100% a trap game.
Also, it's at St. James, which is not usually the easiest place to go.
Unless you're West Ham, and the only place you can win is at St. James.
True.
When you're out of London, the only place West Ham can win is not in London. That's
or you're playing Monopoly and you own the space. Then you're fine.
Seems like a trap game. On paper, Liverpool should win. I mean, they're coming off. I mean, they just beat 2 of the best teams in the world back to back on a short rest.
They've won it. They've won all 6 of the last 6 matchups.
Well,
Liverpool has won.
Yeah, I mean, they just beat Real Madrid and Man City back to back on a short week. So
I mean, and they made it look easy. Like,
so they should beat Newcastle. Okay,
you would think so.
But this could be a trap game. I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool squeaks this out 1-0. But I'm telling you, this is a trap game, and it's going to be interesting to watch. I'm going to be on the edge of my seat.
I think it's going to be closer than a lot of people think.
A game that I'm not going to watch because I won't be on the edge of my seat is Southampton hosting Chelsea. Chelsea is going to win this game by multiple goals.
I would assume so.
Yeah, they're going to outrun them. They're going
to happen when big clubs go to small stadiums. Weird things happen.
Oh, by the way, do you know the game we get on USA during this time block on Wednesday?
Is Villa Brentford?
No, is it
fun?
Yep. Aston Villa.
The game that was looking real good like 5 weeks ago, and then they didn't flex it out of the USA spot.
Yeah, Aston Villa versus Brentford. Aston Villa has been struggling to say the least. Brentford's been on top of the world. I think it's gonna be a fun game. I think there's gonna be a lot of goals involved in this one. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 3-2 win either way.
Why wouldn't they put Arsenal Man U on?
I don't know. And Arsenal Man U doesn't even have a listing on Peacock listed.
I know.
So I don't even know if that's even on to be watched here in America.
Gotta be on, right?
I'm sure. So I'll get to that in a second. Aston Villa, Brentford. Obviously, I'm going to root for my bees. I think it's going to be a close game. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like a 2-2, 3-3 draw. Aston Villa needs it. They've been kicked in the butt for the last couple of weeks. Yes. But Brentford is just flying high and showing that they deserve to be in the Premier League once again, and I love it. Arsenal, Man United, new coach for Man United. Arsenal, Arteta has a lot of cojones on him, to say the least, to what he says to the media. I have a feeling that Man U is going to give them everything here, and I like this to be a draw as well. I like this to be like a 2-2, 1-1 draw. Man U looks really good under the new coach. Marcus Rashford is actually playing true forward, like we talked about last week, and he's scoring goals. Who would have thought, Ten
Somebody
Hog?
run past the last defender.
Who would have thought, Ten Hog? You play Marcus Rashford as a true number 9, and guess what? He scores goals. Idiot.
This is why he has 0 hogs left.
That's why he has 0 hogs left, I guess. But it didn't take Hammer too long to figure that one out.
Nope.
Even Rude Van Nistelrooy figured that out, dude.
Yes.
Jesus Christ. I like a draw on this one. It's obviously the biggest matchup of the weekend. I like a draw on it. I think Man U can give it. They're playing really well, coming off a high. I like the draw.
I would agree. I think.
I mean, Arsenal's favored here, obviously, because they're at home, not by a lot, but enough to make it interesting and the draw money to be interested.
By the way, seriously,
are they minus 175?
Oh my
The
God.
draw's plus
Nottingham,
3.
I just saw the Nottingham Forest is plus 800.
Yeah, Man City is plus 275.
Why?
Yeah.
What? Why?
Okay, so we talked about this Liverpool game, and I'm just looking at the odds right now and how I said it's a trap game. Liverpool are only minus
125
favorites. That is bizarre to me.
Dude, the Ipswich Crystal Palace line is basically split evenly across the.
Yeah. That's
Ipswich is plus 200. The draw is plus 260.
Draw written all over
Palace
it.
is plus 145.
Yeah, I'm taking the draw in Arsenal Man U, but yeah, I'm surprised that Liverpool is only that much of a favorite. That's interesting to me. But we said it's a trap game, and apparently Vegas agrees. So there you go. Shall we move on to the final 2 games that I'm not going to be looking forward to on Thursday? Well, one of them you will, but Fulham hosting Brighton, 2 teams that are great at home and terrible on the road.
Unfortunately, it's not a neutral site. It is at
It's not a neutral site.
Correct.
It is at Craven Cottage. But last time we've been riding that Fulham train at home for a while, but they actually did get shellacked last time they were at home. Brighton away though, not good at all.
Not great.
I think you know what? We're gonna have a midweek here. I think this midweek games before the weekend, and the weekend we'll discuss on Thursday. I think we're gonna see a lot of draws. I think we're gonna see a really an astounding amount of draws midweek here.
Telling you that.
Yeah, all these lines are telling me that.
Like Brighton is plus 135 favorite at home, but Brighton is plus 195 on the road.
Yeah, if you check out these draw lines.
And by the way, Bournemouth Tottenham is almost dead even between the home away. Bournemouth is plus 165.
Dude, I'm just gonna tell you all the draw lines from all these games. Plus 250, plus 250, plus 475, that's the Chelsea. Plus 250, plus 425, that's the Man City. Plus 300, that's the Newcastle Liverpool, by the way. Plus 370, that's Arsenal Man U. Plus 300, Aston Villa Brentford, Fulham Brighton plus 270, and Bournemouth Tottenham, which we'll talk about next, is plus 290. This is the lowest of all the odds of being a draw I've seen all year long for this midweek.
By the way, Bournemouth is plus 165 at home. Tottenham is plus 145 on the road. So, like, they're telling you it's a 50-50 coin flip between these two.
I am going to end this podcast by saying I am all Tottenham this week. I am riding the roller coaster, and guess what? They just drew. We are up and up and up, baby. They're going to win against Bournemouth, and they're going to win by a lot. That's what they do. That's what they do. That's what Tottenham does, man. That's what they do. They're going to crush them.
I'm just going to watch the game, and it's going to be like that meme. Ooh, I'm happy to watch my favorite team. And then for 95%, I feel like I want to die. We got points.
Between the 2 games last year, they won both, and they scored 5 compared to Bournemouth 1.
I mean, okay, but these are 2 entirely different teams compared to.
They are.
Last year.
They are entirely different.
By the way, after they drew in week 1, Tottenham, that is. I'm trying to figure out if they drew They drew week 1 on that Monday game at Leicester.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Then the following week they beat Everton 4-0. But it's Everton.
By the way, Bournemouth. Wow, if Bournemouth beat Tottenham, they're ahead of them in the table.
Yeah. I mean that mid-table is really, really
It is
fast.
so close. We're talking about going from 13th to jump 7th in one
Let's
win.
put it this way. Brighton is 4th in the table. They
Yeah.
are 11 points back of Liverpool, which means they are closer. There's 12 points between Everton and Brighton. Everton's in 15th, Brighton's in 4th. There's 11 between Brighton and Liverpool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Taking it in perspective, West Ham is at what, 15?
15.
So, and they're only 10 away from Arsenal, and Arsenal is 9 away from Liverpool. That's 1 to 2 going, and then going from 2 to 14th.
Yep.
It's a 1 point difference between those two. So, like
Yeah.
we said last week, and like we're saying here, this year has been incredible. Now, do I think Liverpool's going to keep a 9-point lead all the way through? Oh, I do want to mention this actually, though. It's very interesting before we go. And you know what? Maybe I'll mention it on Thursday because it matters now. Liverpool have a 9-point lead.
Correct.
In the Premier League. I want to go ahead and look at the final couple games for Liverpool this season. Okay, so I'm looking it up right now. So I'm sorry, This is bad radio, but I don't care. Liverpool have a 9-point lead now. Who are the teams that they have a 9-point lead over right
now? Chelsea, Arsenal, and Man City. They're like 11.
Correct. On May 3rd, on a Saturday, 4 games to go, Liverpool go to Stamford Bridge to play Chelsea.
Correct. The week before that, by the way, they play Spurs.
Correct. But I'm talking about the two teams that are right on their heels.
And then the very next week, they play Arsenal.
Correct. The next week, they play
at Anfield, so that's a help.
At Anfield.
And then Brighton, by the way, who's 4th, they play the.
All I'm saying is Liverpool still have a 9-point lead and lose both those games to the two teams ahead of them. Then they're only up on those two teams by 3 points going into the 2 games left in the season. So
yeah, but the last game is at home against Crystal Palace.
Still, what I'm saying is they don't see Arsenal or Chelsea again.
Yes.
Until the final 4 weeks of the season, not till May. And those are the two teams which we both agree are chasing them. Would have that 2-week span is going to be huge. By the way, there's also going to be Champions League in between that as well, if they were to make the semifinals. So that is going to be interesting to say it's not over till it's over, because those are the two teams we think are chasing them, and right there back to back in May. Very important to look forward to and say that could change the whole thing. Now, if Liverpool beat Chelsea that week, then it's over. They're celebrating at home against Arsenal the next week and that would be fun. I would love it. But I'm just saying there's a lot still to be played here because of the schedule. Liverpool have tough to go.
Does hang around.
Yeah, Liverpool, Tottenham, Chelsea, Arsenal, Brighton, 4 games before their final game. Not easy.
Not easy.
It's a lot easier until then for Liverpool. They could have a 12-point lead until then. They went through a tough part of their schedule. It's going to ease up a little bit here for a while. But the last 4 weeks of the season, or the last 5 weeks of the season, let's take Crystal Palace at home, but away the final game. But I mean, that could change, and a lot can happen until then. So it's not over till it's over, is all I'm saying. And that's a tough stretch with Champions League implications as well during that as well.
Yep.
So including what could be a semifinal to go to the final during that time too. That is insane, man. So we got to look at it. We got to look at that too and say it's not over till it's over because of this. And I saw that on Sunday and I was like, whoa, this could get interesting in May. So
yeah. Meanwhile, Forest has a rough stretch of games coming up here.
Yeah, Forest. They are who we thought they were.
We'll see, because they got Man City on Wednesday. They play Man U Saturday. Then they're Villa, which you still got to give them the credit for being in Champions League. They're not playing very well right now, but we'll see. Brentford, Tottenham on Boxing Day, and then it eases up with Everton and Wolves. But then there's a rematch with Liverpool.
Liverpool's going to stomp them. All right. With
man,
that being said,
you all showed up to City Ground last year, went 99 minutes, and almost didn't score.
Shout out to Darwin Nunez. All right. Matt Sells, it's supposed to be a half an hour. We went 50. What can you do? We love talking soccer and Premier League. So what can you do? We're going to do another one on Thursday that we'll release on Friday. And thank you guys. Enjoy midweek. Enjoy this part of the season because it's my favorite. It's where true champions will be ahead of the table after December and always lose every time. From myself, from Matt Sells, we'll talk to you guys in a couple days here. Good luck with your bets and enjoy the games. Peace.